The alarms screamed through every ship in the fleet. Red lights flashed on bridge screens as Admiral Zefka watched his forces crumble before his eyes. The Void Swarm was winning, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. "Sir, we've lost." "Contact with Battle Group 7, reported his communications officer, a young Altarian named Veltuz. His voice shook as he spoke. "The swarm ships are tearing through our defenses like paper." Admiral Zethka closed his 4 eyes and tried to think. The Void Swarm had been destroying everything in their path for 6 months now. They had already consumed 3 entire star systems. Billions of lives lost. Entire worlds turned into empty shells. Now they were here at Nexus Prime, the last major population center in this sector. 12 billion people from 17 different species lived on the planet below. Families, children, elders, all of them looking to the sky and hoping the fleet would protect them. But the fleet was losing badly. The Void Swarm ships looked like living things made of black metal and pulsing flesh. They moved in perfect formation, as if controlled by a single mind. When Coalition forces destroyed one ship, 3 more would appear to take its place. When they damaged a swarm vessel, it would heal itself in minutes. "Admiral, incoming transmission." "From Commander Voss on the Starfall," Veltuz said. "Put her through." The face of Commander Lyra Voss appeared on the main screen. She was human-looking, though her species was called Terran Prime. Her dark hair was pulled back, and there was dirt on her uniform. Behind her, Zefka could see smoke and sparks from damaged equipment. "Admiral, we can't hold this line much longer," Lyra said. "The swarm is adapting to our weapons faster than we can modify them. My ship has taken heavy damage, and we're down to 30% shields." Zefka looked at the tactical display. Red dots representing swarm ships outnumbered the blue dots of Coalition forces by 10 to 1. The math was simple and terrible. "How long until they reach the planet?" he asked. 6 hours, maybe less," Lyra replied. "Sir, I'm requesting permission to begin civilian evacuation procedures." The words hit Zefka like a physical blow. Evacuation meant giving up. It meant abandoning Nexus Prime to the swarm. But what choice did they have? "Permission granted," he said quietly. "All civilian transports are to begin immediate evacuation of Nexus Prime. Priority goes to children and medical patients." As Lyra's image disappeared, Zefka turned to look out the bridge windows. Far below, he could see the lights of Nexus Prime cities. In a few hours, those lights would go dark forever. "Sir," called Dr. Kane Torvin from his science station. The elderly Centaurian scientist had been studying the Void Swarm since they first appeared. His 6 arms moved quickly over his controls as he analyzed the latest battle data. "What is it, Doctor?" "I'm still trying to find a weakness in their biology," Dr. Torvin said. "But every scan shows the same thing. They adapt too quickly. We damage them, they repair themselves. We change our weapons, they change their defenses. It's like they're always one step ahead." "Keep trying," Zefka said, though he had little hope left. On the planet below, chaos was spreading. The evacuation order had gone out to all cities, and millions of people were flooding the spaceports. But there weren't enough ships to carry everyone. There would never be enough ships. Commander Voss stood on the bridge of her cruiser, watching the evacuation efforts through her ship's cameras. Families were saying goodbye to each other, not knowing if they would ever meet again. Parents were putting their children on transport ships while staying behind themselves. "Ma'am, we're getting reports from the surface," said her tactical officer. "The spaceports are overcrowded. Fights are breaking out as people try to get onto the ships." Lyra closed her eyes. This was what defeat looked like. Not just the loss of a battle, but the destruction of hope itself. "Do what we can to maintain order," she said. "And keep loading those transports. Every life we save matters." Back on the command ship, Admiral Zefka received another report. Battle Group 3 had been completely destroyed. Battle Group 5 was retreating with heavy losses. The defensive perimeter was collapsing faster than expected. "Admiral," Veltuz called out. "The Coalition Council is requesting an update on the battle." Zefka almost laughed. What was he supposed to tell them? That their greatest fear had come true? That the Void Swarm was unstoppable? "Tell them we're following Evacuation Protocol Omega," he said. "Full retreat within 4 hours. Protocol Omega, the last resort, the plan they never wanted to use. It meant abandoning everything and running as far as they could, hoping the swarm would be satisfied with consuming Nexus Prime and not follow them. Dr. Torvin looked up from his station. "Admiral, what about the distress beacon we sent out 4 months ago?" The distress beacon. Zefka had almost forgotten about it. In desperation, they had sent out a message to unexplored sectors of the galaxy, hoping some unknown civilization might be able to help. It had been a long shot, the kind of thing you do when you have no other options. "No response," Zefka said. "Whoever might have received it either can't help us or doesn't want to. Or maybe they're too far away to reach." "US in time," Dr. Torvin added quietly. On the tactical display, the red dots were getting closer to the planet. The swarm ships moved with purpose, ignoring the retreating coalition forces. They knew the real prize was the planet itself, with its billions of inhabitants. Commander Vos received another report from the surface. Half the population was still on the planet, and the evacuation was slowing down. Too many ships, not enough landing pads. Too many people, not enough time. "Ma'am, we're detecting the first swarm bioships entering the planet's atmosphere," her sensor officer reported. Lyra watched the display as black shapes began appearing in the sky above Nexus Prime cities. The swarm was starting their attack. Early, they weren't even waiting for the Coalition fleet to finish its retreat. "All remaining ships, cover the evacuation transports," she ordered. "Make sure every civilian ship gets clear." But even as she gave the order, Lyra knew it wouldn't be enough. They would save some people, maybe even millions. But billions more would die. Admiral Zefka prepared to give the final order. The order that would officially end their defense of Nexus Prime. The order that would condemn an entire world to destruction. "All ships, prepare for full retreat," he began. Then Veltuz interrupted him. "Sir, long-range sensors are detecting something unusual." "What kind of unusual?" "Unknown contact approaching from Sector 77 Alpha," Veltuz said, his voice rising with excitement. "It's moving at incredible speed, sir. Faster than anything in our database." Admiral Zefka looked at the sensor display. A single dot was approaching their position, moving at a velocity that should have been impossible. No known ship could travel that fast without being torn apart by the forces involved. Could it be a swarm ship? He asked. Dr. Torvin shook his head. "Negative, Admiral. The energy signature is completely different. This is something we've never seen before." Around the bridge, officers began to whisper among themselves. After months of defeat and despair, something unexpected was finally happening. Something that might change everything. "How long until it reaches us?" Admiral Zefka asked. "At current speed, approximately 12 minutes, Veltuz replied. 12 minutes. In 12 minutes, they would either meet a new enemy or discover that their desperate distress call had finally been answered. In 12 minutes, they would learn whether hope was truly lost or if the galaxy still held surprises. Admiral Zefka looked out at the stars and wondered what was coming toward them at impossible speed. Whatever it was, it would arrive just as his civilization was about to fall. The unknown ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel right in front of the Coalition fleet. The sight of it made everyone on every bridge stop and stare in silence. It was huge, easily 3 times the size of Admiral Zefka's flagship. The hull was dark gray with strange angular designs that seemed to bend light around them. Glowing lines ran across its surface in patterns that hurt to look at directly. The ship didn't look like anything in Coalition databases. "My gods," whispered Dr. Torvin from his station. "The energy readings are off the charts. Whatever powers that ship uses technology we don't understand." Admiral Zefka found his voice first. "All ships, battle stations. Unknown vessel. Identify yourself immediately." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship began transmitting on frequencies that Coalition equipment barely recognized. The signal was strong, organized, and using mathematical concepts that made Dr. Torvin's computers struggle to process. "Sir, they're sending some kind of universal mathematical sequence," Veltuz reported. "It looks like they're trying to establish communication protocols. Can we decode it?" "Working on it, sir. The patterns are complex but logical. They're using prime numbers, geometric sequences, and ... Wait, I think they're teaching us their language." Within minutes, the alien ship's transmission became clearer. Words began forming on the communication screens, translated through mathematical principles into Coalition standard language. "Coalition forces, this is Captain Lisa Hunt of the Human Defense Corps' vessel, New Frontier. We received your distress call. Please respond with your current tactical situation." The bridge fell silent. Human Defense Corps. Humans. A species not found in any galactic database. And they claim to have received a distress signal sent only 4 months ago across impossible distances. Admiral Zefke leaned forward in his command chair. "Unknown vessel, New Frontier. This is Admiral Zefka of the Coalition Defense Fleet. How did you receive our distress call so quickly? Our message was sent to unexplored sectors." "Admiral Zefka, we have advanced communication relay networks throughout this galaxy sector. Your message reached us through quantum entanglement channels. We dispatched our ship immediately upon receipt." Dr. Torvin's eyes went wide. Quantum entanglement communication was theoretical for Coalition science. These humans spoke of it as if it were common technology. "Captain Hunt," Admiral Zefke continued, "we are facing an enemy called the Void Swarm. They have superior numbers and adaptive technology. We are in the process of evacuating the planet Nexus Prime before it falls to enemy forces." The response came quickly. "Admiral, please transmit all available data on this Void Swarm. Our ship's analysis systems will review the threat assessment." Commander Lyra Vuss, listening from her damaged cruiser, spoke up on the general communication channel. "Captain Hunt, with respect, you don't understand the situation. The swarm has destroyed 3 star systems. They adapt to our weapons faster than we can modify them. Their bioships regenerate damage within minutes. We've been fighting them for months and haven't found a single weakness." "Commander Voss, I appreciate your concern," Captain Hunt replied. "However, we have extensive experience dealing with adaptive hive mind species. Every biological system has exploitable weaknesses. We simply need to locate theirs." The confidence in the human captain's voice was something Coalition forces hadn't heard in months. It wasn't false bravado or desperate hope. It sounded like simple fact. "Captain Hunt," Dr. Torvin interjected, "our greatest scientific minds have analyzed the swarm for months. What makes you think you can find something we missed?" "Dr. Torvin, I assume. Our ship carries advanced analysis equipment designed specifically for unknown biological threats. We're scanning the swarm ships now. Initial results are quite interesting." On the New Frontier's bridge, Captain Lisa Hunt stood looking at displays showing the Void Swarm forces. Her ship's AI was processing more data in minutes than Coalition forces had gathered in months of fighting. "Chief Engineer Cole, what's our analysis showing?" she asked. Chief Engineer Ryan Cole, a tall man with graying hair, looked up from his station. "Captain, these bioships are impressive, but they're not as advanced as they first appear. Their regenerative system has a critical flaw, explain. They're using a shared biological network for damage control. When one ship takes damage, the entire local group shares the repair workload. It makes them very resilient individually, but it also means they're all connected through quantum biological links. Dr. Alex Morgan, the ship's science officer, added his analysis. Captain, if we can disrupt those links, the individual ships become much more vulnerable. They lose their collective healing ability and their coordinated movement patterns. Back on the Coalition flagship, the conversation continued. Admiral Zethka was trying to understand what he was dealing with. Captain Hunt, you speak of hive mind. Species as if you've encountered them before. How many civilizations exist in your region of space? Admiral, humanity controls territory in 7 different galaxy sectors. We've encountered 43 different species, including 12 hive mind variants. The Void Swarm appears to be a Type 7 collective organism, which we've dealt with successfully on 4 previous occasions. The numbers were staggering. Humanity controlled territory across multiple galaxy sectors. They had encountered dozens of species. The Coalition, by comparison, represented only 17 species in a single sector. How large is your fleet, Captain Hunt? Commander Vos asked. The New Frontier is a reconnaissance vessel, Commander. We carry a crew of 300. Our main battle fleet consists of 60 ships, each designed for specific combat situations. They're currently en route to this location. Dr. Torvin nearly fell out of his chair. A reconnaissance ship with 300 crew members carried more firepower than Coalition dreadnoughts with crews of thousands. And they had 60 warships coming. Captain Hunt, Admiral Zethke said carefully, what are your intentions here? Our intentions are simple, Admiral. We respond to distress calls from civilizations facing extinction-level threats. We'll eliminate the Void Swarm, help you rebuild your defenses, and offer an alliance if you're interested. Lieutenant Commander. Maya Brooks, the New Frontier's tactical officer, was coordinating with Coalition forces while this conversation continued. She was a young woman with short blonde hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Admiral Zethka, she said, we're uploading tactical coordination software to your ships. This will allow our vessels to work together more effectively. Please, have your tactical officers review the data packages we're sending. The software packages were unlike anything Coalition forces had seen. The programs analyzed enemy movements, predicted attack patterns, and suggested counter-strategies in real time. Technology that would take Coalition scientists years to develop was being shared freely. Captain Hunt, Dr. Torvin said, this technology you're sharing with us, it's incredibly advanced. Why are you giving it away so easily? Captain Hunt's answer revealed something important about human nature. Dr. Torvin, we've learned that the best way to ensure our own survival is to make sure our allies are strong enough to defend themselves. Sharing technology makes everyone safer. Chief Engineer Cole added more technical details. Our ships use adaptive manufacturing systems. We can modify weapons, shields, and even hull configurations during battle based on enemy responses. The technology learns from each engagement. Commander Voss asked the question everyone was thinking. Captain Hunt, if your technology is so advanced, why haven't we encountered humanity before? Commander, space is vast, and we prefer to avoid contact until we're needed. We monitor communications from developing civilizations, but we don't interfere unless they face threats they cannot handle alone. The implications were enormous. Humanity had been watching Coalition space, listening to their communications, but staying hidden. They were apparently much more advanced than anyone had imagined. Captain Hunt, Admiral Zethka said, the swarm will reach Nexus Prime in less than 4 hours. Even with your help, I don't see how we can evacuate 12 billion people in time. Admiral, We're not planning to evacuate anyone. We're going to save the planet by destroying the swarm before they can land." The simple confidence in those words sent a chill through every coalition officer. These humans weren't just offering to help with evacuation. They were planning to win a battle that coalition forces had already given up as hopeless. "All coalition ships," Captain Hunt announced, "prepare for coordinated assault on swarm forces. Our battle plan will be transmitted to your tactical officers within the next 30 minutes. This is not a retreat. This is victory." For the first time in months, Admiral Zefka allowed himself to feel something other than despair. Maybe, just maybe, hope wasn't lost after all. Dr. Alex Morgan and Dr. King Torvin worked side by side in the New Frontiers Science Laboratory. The human lab was unlike anything the Centaurian scientist had ever seen. Machines hummed quietly while holographic displays showed complex biological data floating in the air above their workstations. "This is incredible," Dr. Torvin said, his 6 arms moving rapidly as he examined the swarm data. "Your equipment can see details we never detected. Look at these quantum signatures in their neural pathways." Dr. Morgan nodded as he pointed to a section of the display. "The Void Swarm isn't as mysterious as your people thought. They're using quantum entanglement to link their nervous systems across multiple ships. Every bioship in a local group shares the same consciousness. But that's what makes them so dangerous," Dr. Torvin replied. "They coordinate perfectly because they're all connected." "Exactly," Dr. Morgan said with a smile. "And that connection is also their biggest weakness." The human scientist touched a control, and the display changed to show energy patterns flowing between swarm ships. "See these quantum threads? If we can disrupt them with the right frequency pulse, we can cut the connection between ships. Without their shared consciousness, they become much easier to defeat." Dr. Torvin stared at the data. Coalition scientists had been looking for a physical weakness in the swarm's biology. The humans had found a weakness in their consciousness itself. "How do we generate this frequency pulse?" Dr. Torvin asked. "We'll need to modify one of our quantum resonance generators," Dr. Morgan explained. "The pulse has to be precise and powerful. Too weak and it won't work. Too strong and it might damage our own ships." On the bridge, Captain Hunt was explaining human technology to the shocked coalition officers. Chief Engineer Cole stood beside her, occasionally adding technical details that made the alien's eyes grow wide. "Captain Hunt," Admiral Zefka said, "over the communication channel, your people speak of adaptive weapons and reality anchors as if they're common equipment. How is this possible?" "Admiral, human technology developed differently than yours," Captain Hunt replied. "We faced extinction early in our spacefaring history. We learned to build ships and weapons that could adapt to any threat." Cole stepped forward. "Our ships use programmable matter for most systems. Hull plates can become armor or weapons depending on what we need. Engines can reconfigure for speed or power. Even our crew quarters can transform into additional laboratories or manufacturing spaces." Commander Lyra Voss, still listening from her damaged cruiser, asked the question that bothered her most. "Captain Hunt, you say this is a reconnaissance ship. What exactly are you scouting for?" Captain Hunt was quiet for a moment before answering. "Commander, humanity lost our homeworld 2 centuries ago. We've been searching for a new place to call home ever since. But we also search for civilizations that need help, species facing extinction, like yours." The words hit the coalition officers hard. These powerful humans with their incredible technology were refugees, just like the people evacuating from Nexus Prime. Lieutenant Commander Maya Brooks was working with coalition tactical officers, showing them how to coordinate with human battle systems. Her displays showed ship movements and weapon trajectories in ways that made conventional tactics look primitive. "The key to fighting adaptive enemies," Brooks explained, is to change your approach faster than they can respond. Our ships can modify their weapons 17 times per minute. The swarm adapts quickly, but not that quickly. A coalition tactical officer asked, "Lieutenant Commander, how do your weapons change so fast?" "Molecular engineering," Brooks replied simply. "Our weapon systems can rearrange their atomic structure in real time. A plasma cannon can become a railgun, then switch to particle beam, all within seconds." Back in the laboratory, Dr. Morgan and Dr. Torvin were making progress on their frequency weapon. The device would need to be deployed close to the swarm's central command organism to be effective. "The problem," Dr. Torvin said, "is getting close enough to use it. The command organism is always surrounded by hundreds of bioships. It would be a suicide mission." Dr. Morgan looked at his displays thoughtfully. "Not necessarily. Human ships are designed for exactly these kinds of missions. We call them impossible insertions." Impossible insertions? Missions where the odds of success are so low that conventional thinking says they can't be done. Humans specialize in proving conventional thinking wrong. "On the bridge, Captain." Hunt was receiving reports from her crew. The frequency weapon was almost ready, but they would need to get very close to the swarm center to use it. "Captain," Cole reported, "I can push our reality anchors to maximum power. That will let us phase partially out of normal space. The swarm's weapons won't be able to lock onto us effectively." "How long can we maintain that phase state?" Hunt asked. "Maybe 20 minutes before the systems overload. After that, we'll be completely vulnerable." Hunt nodded. 20 minutes would have to be enough. Admiral Zethka was studying the human battle plan. It was unlike anything in Coalition military doctrine, where Coalition strategy focused on overwhelming firepower and defensive positions. The human plan relied on speed, adaptation, and precision strikes. "Captain Hunt," he said, "this plan requires your ship to penetrate deep into swarm territory alone. Even with your advanced technology, the risk is enormous. Admiral, humans have a saying, the difficult we do immediately. The impossible takes a little longer. This mission is difficult, not impossible." Dr. Torvin finished his work on the way frequency weapon and contacted the bridge. "Captain Hunt, the device is ready. But I want to be clear about the risks. If the pulse is even slightly miscalibrated, it could damage our own quantum-based systems." "Understood, Doctor." "What's the margin for error?" "Very small. The frequency has to be precise to within 0.003 terahertz. Any deviation, and the weapon becomes useless or dangerous." Captain Hunt looked at her crew. They had all volunteered for this mission, knowing the risks. Chief Engineer Cole had checked and rechecked every system. Dr. Morgan had run hundreds of simulations. Lieutenant Commander Brooks had planned their approach route down to the second. "All stations prepare for combat insertion," Hunt announced. "We're going into the heart of the swarm." The Coalition fleet watched as the new frontier began moving toward the enemy forces. The human ship's adaptive armor was already changing, becoming more streamlined for high-speed flight. Weapon ports were opening along the hull in configurations that didn't exist moments before. "Commander," Voss tried one more time to talk them out of it. "Captain Hunt, you don't have to do this. We can find another way." "Commander, there's no other way. The swarm will consume this planet in hours. Millions of people are still on the surface, and you can't evacuate them all. This is the only chance to save them." The new frontier accelerated toward the swarm formation. As it approached, enemy bioships began changing course to intercept. But the human vessel was moving faster than anything the swarm had encountered before. "Cole, activate reality anchors," Captain Hunt ordered. "Reality anchors active, Captain. We're phasing out of normal space-time." The ship seemed to flicker and blur as it entered the phase state. Swarm weapons fired at where it had been, but their targeting systems couldn't lock onto something that was only partially in their reality. Dr. Morgan monitored the frequency weapon as they approached the swarm center. 2 minutes to optimal range, Captain. Brooks, status on enemy response? They're trying to adapt to our phase technology, but their biosystems can't process the quantum mechanics involved. We're still invisible to most of their sensors. The New Frontier dove deeper into the swarm formation. Thousands of bioships moved around them like a living storm of death and destruction. At the center, the command organism waited, a massive creature that controlled the entire swarm through quantum neural links. 1 minute to deployment range, Dr. Morgan reported. Captain Hunt looked at her crew one final time. In 60 seconds, they would either save 12 billion lives or die trying. For humans, there was no choice to make. They would succeed, or they would make sure their failure meant something. All hands prepare for frequency weapon deployment. This is what we came here to do. The New Frontier flew through the heart of the swarm like a ghost ship. Bioships larger than buildings moved around them, their weapons firing at shadows and empty space. The reality anchors kept the human vessel flickering between dimensions, making it nearly impossible to target. 30 seconds to deployment range, Dr. Morgan announced from his station. His hands moved quickly over the controls of the frequency weapon. Every calculation had to be perfect. Captain Hunt watched the tactical display as they approached the swarm's command organism. It was massive, easily the size of a small moon. Thick cables of living tissue connected it to hundreds of bioships, creating a web of neural connections that controlled the entire fleet. Cole, how are our reality anchors holding up? She asked. Chief Engineer Cole checked his readings. Sweat was running down his face as he pushed the ship's systems beyond their normal limits. 18 minutes remaining before overload, Captain. The swarm is starting to adapt. They're learning to see us even in phase state. Lieutenant Commander Brooks confirmed his warning. Captain, enemy targeting accuracy is improving. They're hitting us with 15% of their shots now. Our adaptive armor is holding, but barely. The New Frontier shook as swarm weapons found their mark. The ship's programmable hull plates immediately began reshaping themselves, spreading the damage and reinforcing weak points. But even human technology had limits. 15 seconds to optimal range, Dr. Morgan called out. Through the bridge windows, they could see the command organism clearly now. It pulsed with sickly light, and thousands of neural tendrils reached out to connect with nearby bioships. This creature was the brain that controlled everything. 10 seconds. The swarm was focusing all its attention on the human ship now. Hundreds of bioships were converging on their position. Energy beams and bioplasma bolts filled the space around them. 5 seconds. Captain Hunt gripped her command chair. All hands brace for weapon deployment. Deploying frequency weapon now, Dr. Morgan announced. The device activated with a sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. It was a deep, thrumming note that made the ship's hull vibrate. The frequency pulse spread out from the New Frontier in all directions, invisible but incredibly powerful. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the command organism began to convulse. The neural connections between bioships started flickering like broken electrical wires. The perfect coordination of the swarm began to fall apart. It's working. Dr. Torvin's voice came over the communication system from his position on Admiral Zefte's ship. The quantum links are destabilizing. The bioships are losing their shared consciousness, but the victory was short-lived. The command organism was adapting faster than expected. New neural pathways began forming even as old ones were destroyed. The creature was learning to resist the frequency weapon. Captain, Dr. Morgan said urgently, the command organism is developing immunity. The frequency pulse is losing effectiveness. Captain Hunt looked at the tactical display. The swarm was still partially disrupted, but they were regaining coordination. In a few minutes, they would be back to full strength. How long before they're completely immune? She asked. Maybe 5 minutes, Dr. Morgan replied. After that, the weapon will be useless. Hunt made a decision that would have seemed insane to any conventional military officer. Cole, prepare for ramming speed. We're going directly into that command organism. Captain, Brooks said, our ship isn't designed for that kind of impact. Even with our adaptive armor, we'll be torn apart. Not if we reconfigure the entire hull into a penetrator, Hunt replied. Cole, can you reshape our armor into a drilling configuration? Cole was already working on the problem. Yes, Captain, but it will take everything we have. All power will have to go to forward shields and armor. We'll lose weapons, life support. Everything. Do it. The new frontier began changing shape even as it flew toward the command organism. The hull plates flowed like liquid metal, forming a massive drill bit at the front of the ship. The sides became streamlined and reinforced. Within minutes, the ship looked more like a giant spear than a starship. All hands, emergency positions, Captain Hunt announced. We're going in. The Coalition fleet watched in amazement as the human ship accelerated directly toward the center of the swarm. Admiral Zethka could hardly believe what he was seeing. Are they really going to ram that thing? Commander Vos asked over the communication channel. It appears so, Admiral Zethka replied. Captain Hunt, your ship will be destroyed on impact. Hunt's voice came back calm and determined. Admiral, human ships are built to survive the impossible. We'll make it through. The new frontier hit the outer edge of the command organism at incredible speed. The living tissue of the creature tried to resist, but the ship's drill configuration tore through it like paper. Deeper and deeper they went, leaving a tunnel of destruction behind them. Inside the ship, the crew was thrown around despite their safety harnesses. Emergency lights flickered as systems overloaded. But the ship held together, boring deeper into the heart of the swarm's control center. Hull integrity at 60% and falling, Cole reported through gritted teeth. Keep going, Hunt ordered. We need to reach the core. Dr. Morgan had modified their frequency weapon during the approach. Instead of broadcasting the pulse in all directions, he had focused it into a tight beam that would be much more powerful. We're almost at the neural center, he announced. I can see the core consciousness directly ahead. The command organism was fighting back. Internal defenses were attacking the ship from all sides. Bioweapons and acid sprays tried to dissolve the hull. Immune system responses attempted to push them out, but the new frontier kept going. The adaptive armor changed continuously, developing resistance to each new attack. The ship was literally evolving as it fought. There, Dr. Morgan pointed at his display, the central neural cluster. That's where all the quantum connections originate. They had reached the brain of the entire swarm, a massive cluster of neural tissue that pulsed with the thoughts of millions of bioships. This was the target they needed. Deploying focused frequency beam, Dr. Morgan announced. The modified weapon fired directly into the neural cluster. At point-blank range, the frequency pulse was devastating. The quantum connections that held the swarm together began breaking down completely. The effect spread outward from the core. Neural pathways throughout the command organism began shutting down. The quantum links to bioships across 3 star systems started failing. On the Coalition ships, Dr. Torvin watched his sensors in amazement. Admiral, the entire swarm network is collapsing. Ships are losing coordination across the entire fleet. But the command organism wasn't finished. In its death throes, it began using its own biology as a weapon. The neural cluster started overloading, preparing to explode and take the human ship with it. Captain, Cole shouted, the organism is going critical. We have maybe 30 seconds before it detonates. Hunt looked around her bridge. Her crew had followed her into the impossible mission without question. Now they needed to survive the impossible escape. All power to rear thrusters, she ordered. We're getting out of here the same way we came in. The new frontier reversed course and began fighting its way back through the tunnel they had created. Behind them, the command organism's neural cluster was building toward a massive explosion. They burst out of the creature just as it exploded. The force of the detonation threw their ship forward like a bullet. Emergency systems screamed warnings as the hull took damage from the blast. But they were alive. The ship was damaged but intact. And throughout the battle zone, swarm bioships were drifting helplessly as their shared consciousness collapsed. All Coalition ships, Captain Hunt announced. The swarm's command structure has been destroyed. Their bioships are no longer coordinated. Begin cleanup operations. Admiral Zethka looked at his tactical display in wonder. The red dots representing swarm ships were no longer moving in formation. They were scattered, confused, vulnerable. Captain Hunt, he said, you've done the impossible. You've saved Nexus. Prime. Hunt's reply showed the strength that defined humanity. Admiral, humans don't accept the impossible. We just find another way to get things done. The Void swarm died like a broken machine. Across 3 star systems, bioships that had moved with perfect coordination for months now drifted silently through space. Without their shared consciousness, they were just empty shells floating in. The darkness. Admiral Zethka watched the tactical displays as his fleet moved through the debris field. Where once there had been thousands of deadly enemies, now there were only lifeless hulks that posed no threat to anyone. Dr. Torvin confirmed the readings, he said quietly. Are they really all dead? The Centaurian scientist checked his instruments. One more time. All bioships show 0 neural activity, Admiral. No quantum connections, no coordinated movement, no response to external stimuli. The swarm is completely defunct. Commander Lyra Voss guided her damaged cruiser through the wreckage. Her crew was cheering, but she could hardly believe it was over. All ships, begin search and rescue operations. Look for any survivors from our earlier battles. The new frontier hung in space near the destroyed command organism, its hull scorched and damaged from the escape. Captain Hunt stood on her bridge, watching repair crews work to fix the most critical systems. Status report, Cole, she said. Chief Engineer Cole looked tired but satisfied. Hull integrity is back to 70%. We lost 3 reality anchor generators and half our adaptive armor plating. But the ship is spaceworthy. How long for full repairs? With our manufacturing systems, maybe 2 weeks. But Captain, we did it. We actually did it. Hunt smiled. It was rare for humans to encounter a challenge this difficult. The Void Swarm had been a worthy opponent, but human determination and technology had won in the end. Dr. Morgan was already analyzing the wreckage of the command organism. Captain, the quantum neural network was more complex than we initially thought. This species must have been developing their hive mind for thousands of years. Any chance they could regenerate? Hunt asked. None, Dr. Morgan replied confidently. The neural pathways are completely destroyed. Even if some bioships survived elsewhere, they won't be able to reconnect without a command organism. Admiral Zethke contacted the New Frontier. Captain Hunt, I have reports coming in from across the sector. The swarm collapse has affected bioships in all 3 invaded systems. You've saved billions of lives today. Before Hunt could respond, her long-range sensors detected multiple ships approaching. Large vessels moving in formation at speeds that Coalition forces recognized as impossible. Admiral, she announced, the Human Defense Corps' main battle fleet has arrived. 60 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Each vessel was unique, designed for specific combat roles that the Coalition couldn't even imagine. The flagship was twice the size of the New Frontier and bristled with weapons that bent light around them. New Frontier, This is Admiral Janet Morris aboard the Sovereign. Status report, Captain Hunt. Admiral Morris, mission accomplished. The Void Swarm has been eliminated. Coalition forces are secure, and we're ready to begin diplomatic protocols. Admiral Zethka found himself looking at a fleet that could probably conquer the entire coalition without breaking a sweat. Yet these humans had come not as conquerors, but as saviors. Admiral Morris, he transmitted. I am Admiral Zethka of the Coalition Defense Fleet. On behalf of 17 species, I thank you for your assistance in our darkest hour. The human admiral's response was broadcast to all coalition ships. Admiral Zethka, humanity is honored to make contact with your coalition. We hope this is the beginning of a long and beneficial relationship. Dr. Torvin couldn't contain his scientific curiosity. Admiral Morris, your technology is far beyond anything we understand. How did humanity develop such advanced capabilities? There was a pause before Admiral Morris answered. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of tragedy and determination. Dr. Torvin, humanity didn't develop this technology by choice. We were forced to create it by necessity. Our homeworld was destroyed 2 centuries ago by an enemy far more dangerous than the Void Swarm. The words hit the coalition officers like a physical blow. These powerful humans with their incredible ships were refugees. They had lost everything. Just like the people evacuating from Nexus Prime. What happened to your world? Commander Vos asked quietly. Captain Hunt answered for her admiral. Commander, Earth was consumed by something we call the Devourer. It was an entity that fed on entire star systems. We barely escaped with a fraction of our population. The technology you see today, Admiral Morris continued, was built by survivors who decided that no other species should suffer what we suffered. Every weapon, every ship, every defensive system was designed with one purpose: to ensure that when civilizations call for help, someone answers. Dr. Morgan added more details. Human ships are designed to handle impossible missions because we've learned that the impossible happens more often than anyone wants to admit. We prepare for the worst so we can protect others from it. Admiral Zethka felt a new respect for these humans. They had suffered the ultimate loss and used it to become protectors of others. Admiral Morris, the Coalition would be honored to offer humanity full membership in our alliance. We accept, Admiral Zethka. But we should be clear about what this partnership means. Humanity brings advanced technology and military capability. In return, we ask for your help in establishing new colonies and defending civilizations that cannot defend themselves. Commander Voss asked the question that had been bothering her since first contact. Admiral Morris, you mentioned that Earth was destroyed by something worse than the Void Swarm. Is this Devourer still out there? Admiral Morris was quiet for a long moment. The Devourer is contained, Commander. We built a prison for it using technology that cost us everything we had. But prisons don't last forever. Eventually, we'll need to find a permanent solution. The implications were staggering. Humanity had faced an enemy so powerful it could destroy entire star systems, and they had somehow defeated it. Now they were preparing for the possibility that it might escape. How long do we have? Dr. Torvin asked. Our best estimate suggests several centuries before the containment fails, Admiral Morris replied. Time enough to prepare if we work together. Captain Hunt looked out at the Coalition fleet and the human vessels surrounding them. This is why humanity seeks alliances, Admiral Zethka. The threats we face are too large for any one species to handle alone. Together, we can build something strong enough to protect the galaxy. Dr. Morgan and Dr. Torvin began making plans for joint research facilities. The combination of human adaptability and coalition diversity could lead to discoveries neither could make alone. Chief Engineer Cole started sharing manufacturing techniques with coalition engineers. Soon, Their ships would be able to modify themselves during battle, making them far more effective against adaptive enemies. Lieutenant Commander Brooks worked with Coalition tactical officers to develop new battle strategies. The humans were teaching them to think beyond conventional limitations. Admiral Zethka issued orders to establish the first joint Human Coalition Command Center on Nexus Prime. The planet that had nearly fallen to the swarm would become the headquarters for their new alliance. Admiral Morris, he said, you mentioned that humanity monitors communications from developing civilizations. Are there others out there who need help? Always, Admiral Morris replied. The galaxy is full of species facing extinction, invasion, or disasters beyond their control. With the Coalition's help, we can reach more of them. Commander Voss asked, one final question. What happens now? Captain Hunt answered with the confidence that defined humanity. Now we build something better. We combine human technology with Coalition wisdom. We prepare for threats that haven't appeared yet. And when the next distress call comes from somewhere in the galaxy, we'll be ready to answer it. As the human and Coalition fleets began working together, a new chapter in galactic history began. The species that had thought hope was lost had found not just salvation, but partners who would stand with them against whatever darkness waited in the stars. The universe was vast and full of dangers. But now, when civilizations faced the impossible, they would know that help was coming. Humanity had taught the galaxy an important lesson. Hope is never truly lost as long as someone is willing to fight for it.